Scapa Flow and the surrounding Orkney Islands are a long way away from pretty much everywhere else in the UK, so it makes sense to me to get the best from my trip. These are my top half dozen suggestions for doing just that, starting with some pre-trip research. And the obvious place there to begin was with Rod MacDonald's book Dive Scapa Flow. It came out originally years ago, but it's been revised and reissued and is now a comprehensive one-volume guide to diving the German wrecks, but with plenty of history and backstory, plus information on far more wrecks than just the big seven. If you read nothing else, get yourself Rod's book. Once you're hooked, Robert K. Massey's Dreadnought, a book that's nearly as big as the ship herself, traces the naval arms race that contributed so much to the outbreak of the First World War. And then his Castles of Steel follows the course of the war at sea, mostly from a British perspective. The books look like heavy going, but they're actually very readable. The biggest sea battle of the First War saw the British and German fleets meet at Jutland in 1916, and there are plenty of books covering the battle from both British and German perspectives. But Orkney historian Angus Constam's Jutland is very well written and describes the battle very clearly. The events later leading to the internment and eventual scuttling of the German fleet are covered in Dan van der Vat's Grand Scuttle, and the incredible story of the raising of so many of the sunken German ships to send them south to the breakers are covered in The Man Who Bought a Navy by Gerald Bowman. If you prefer video, there are some excellent documentaries on YouTube, and there are also some great diving videos of the wrecks. Background sorted, I'm also making sure I'm dived up. I know the week usually starts with the shallower wrecks to get comfortable with the diving in Scapa, but being used to diving in British waters, and especially being used to British viz, well, that'll get me and you going much faster, as will diving in the right suit and undersuit to stay warm, and being comfortable using a DSMB. But Scapa is proper diving, yeah? Well, it's certainly deeper than most people dive most of the time, so bigger cylinders or twin sets and stages sound good. But diving with unfamiliar kit can split your concentration between the wrecks and your gear, so perhaps better to get the best from what you're used to, so you're as comfortable underwater as possible and can look at the rusty stuff you've travelled so far to see. And that also means looking after myself. Back in the day, Scapa Week ran Sunday to Friday, and they called Thursday Bend Day. 4 days of repetitive and relatively deep diving in relatively cold water, added to long nights in the pub, well, it's a holiday after all, increases the chances of a visit to the nearest recompression chamber. Not the best way to finish a trip. So at risk of sounding like your mum, take it easy. And a part of that is also being prepared to compromise. Unless you book the entire boat to yourself, you're going to have to agree sites with the other divers in your party and with your skipper. If there's a dive you really, really want to do, well, ask for it. I've never done the turrets of the Bayern, so I'll ask. But other people will also have their ideas. Last time I went, one of the group wanted to dive with seals, so the afternoon dive one day was an hour and a bit at a maximum depth of not very much with those beautiful animals. And you might also be unlucky enough to have bad weather, when all you can do is relax and take it easy. So my final suggestion is to go and see some of Orkney's other sites. The Neolithic sites of Skara Brae, the Ring of Brodgar, and many more are famous around the world. But there are plenty of wartime sites. There are harbour defence installations, the Churchill Barriers, the Italian chapel built by Italian POWs in the Second World War in a Nissen hut, or the St Magnus Cathedral in Kirkwall, or the distillery where they produce Highland Park whisky, or so many other places to visit. I could happily do a fortnight on Orkney without getting wet. Well, except when it rains. So that's it then. My ideas for getting the best from a Scapa trip. Next time will be that video from my October trip. And thanks for watching.